Interiors. Now with more choice than ever in wood flooring. Still at the lowest prices at the new look Des Kelly Interiors.
Cloudy this evening with some sunny spells. Humid with lows temperatures of 11 to 14 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie. Championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
This is News Talk.
All right, you're very welcome along to Thursdays Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 9 o'clock this evening. It is the opening day of the Open Championship. We're going to be across the Carnoustie throughout the show, and it's a tasty looking leaderboard. Kevin Kisner, Eric Van Rooyen, Tony Finau, Xander Lombard and Brandon Stone right up there.
Woo.
No? It's one for the purists. It's one for the Golf Weekly mafia to get behind. Now, it is a pretty tasty leaderboard. Within three of the lead, Rory McIlroy. Opening round of 69 for McIlroy. Holds some decent putts. John Rahm among those on 2 under par. Justin Thomas as well on 2 under. Tiger ticking along nicely, still out on course on 1 under par. Ricky Fowler there as well. So plenty of big names in contention already after the opening day. We'll check in with Neil Tracy in just a few minutes' time. 7:30 as always, John Giles will be with us in studio. We're going to have Giles's World Cup Award winners, including his favourite goal.
His favourite goal?
His favourite goal of the World Cup.
Messi, was it?
Can't tell you.
No spoilers.
Though he did say earlier in the tournament that Messi's goal against Nigeria was one of the best goals he has ever seen.
Yeah.
So we'll take something
I'd go along with
to
that.
top that.
It's the best first touch I've ever seen. Like, it was a beautiful pass in, but to control it with your thigh on the run, I just say.
How important in these great goal competitions is context? So Cristiano Ronaldo scored a lot of great free kicks, but in the last minute of a World Cup opener against Spain, does that give it added gravitas?
It gives it more gravitas, but it's the first game. Like, if it was the last game of the group stage and they needed to qualify, it gives it more gravitas, surely. Or if it's a knockout game.
Level.
Yeah, there are different levels.
How do you choose between Nacho and Pavard's volleys? Again,
I think
Pavard's. Because it's better.
I think Nacho's is better.
Oh, a split.
Yeah.
Sums you up as men, that division right there. So that's the kind of debate we're going to have with John Giles. We're going to get his biggest disappointment.
And the social medias?
Best manager. Best use of social media will most certainly come up in
John's
the awards.
War, the social medias.
Can't believe you missed that one, JP. It could have been gold. And best player, where I have a strong feeling that Paul Pogba may contend.
Really, yeah?
Really? Wow.
I just think he's he's put himself in the mix.
Okay. Right.
So that's all to come from 7:30.
So Giles is a Paulian conversion on the road to Damascus. Is that what they call it?
This was
to keep up the pontiff theme from the news.
Well, exactly. Have you got your tickets? Are you going to
Nathan Carter and Daniel, definitely. Yeah.
Nathan Carter gets all these good gigs.
Whoever booked Nathan Carter clearly thinks he's Irish. When, in actual fact, and spoiler there for those who don't know, he's a Scouser.
Yes. We have heard him talk.
And he was like, even being interviewed there with her, I'm sure we're being sidetracked here. He was saying, I think of all the Irish singers that could have been asked to do this, and I think it's great. I'm like, yeah, an Irish singer probably should have been asked to do it.
Well, quite a few people turned it down. Declan O'Rourke had the opportunity to go, and he said, no, you're fine, thanks. So
was he asked, really?
They maybe had opportunities to go another way. But obviously, listen, they looked at the crowd. Is he going to play Wagon Wheel?
He has to play Wagon Wheel.
Is that inappropriate?
He has to play Wagon Wheel.
I don't know. Can you play Wagon Wheel in front of the Pope?
What's appropriate in front of the Pope?
Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel.
Kick me, Jesus, to the goalpost of life. It couldn't be more appropriate for Croke Park.
You can't sing that in front of the Pope.
Of course you could. He'd love it.
Our houses kick me again, Jesus. It's another one.
Yeah.
The opportunities are endless. Right.
I'm suddenly having my playlist done for Monday night.
What was that Fatima Mansions song about a Pope Mobile or something? Did they have a song about a Pope Mobile?
Yeah.
Fatima Mansions? Can't remember.
All right, 53106, the text number. If you have any suggestions, the Newsround brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. After 8 o'clock, we're going to be talking Tyrone Dublin. We're going to be getting nostalgic, a look back on the Battle of Omagh, 12 years on. I was wondering, and we just recorded a little bit earlier with Dennis Bastick and Brian McGuigan, it's one of those, if it happened now, God almighty, we'd be talking about it for 6 months.
Yeah, because, the big reason, the difference of the social medias, as John would say, you would be, because it would surely be shown live in TG Car so everybody see what's going on, so the little clips will go viral very quickly. But it's an interesting one because those games with Tyrone in the mid-noughties and the late noughties are what made Dublin, are a large part of what made Dublin into what they are now, because of the way they looked at them. Like, if you remember the infamous Blue Book, do you remember the Blue Book, which they got vilified for during Paul Caffrey's time, which it was a motivational manual, basically, and on the front cover it was for the 2008 championship. It had Dublin 2008 All-Ireland champions. They were given at the start of the year. Obviously they didn't win the All-Ireland that year, so when this became public they were laughed at. But one of the lines in it was, that day in Omagh was the first day in years that Dublin crossed the line as a team. So that showed how much they read into that. And there's an interesting one as well. A couple of years later, I met Mickey Whelan a couple of days after they won the All-Ireland in 2011. He'd obviously coached the team under Pat Gilroy. And I was saying to him, were there any games that year in the league even that you looked at and you thought, right, we're in a good place, we're going to push on? He said, not this year, the year before. He said, we went up to Omagh and they had to win to stay up in Division 1. And we had 4 of our championship team for the previous year, and they were at full strength, and we beat them by 6 points. And he said that was a game we kept referencing. There's interest in how much they put the store they put into beating Tyrone. Even 2011, remember that quarter final when Jim Connolly shot the lights out? Like, that was a day they announced themselves, really.
But I always wondered, was the gap too big? So whereas Dublin wanted 2006 in Omagh to be this pivotal moment, a turning point in this side that had been ridiculed for not being able to deliver, and actually it was 5 years then before they actually went and won an All-Ireland, whether it had such a long-lasting effect.
Yeah, but if you think of even like the 2008 when the Blue Book came out, Tyrone won the All-Ireland, but Tyrone won it through the back door. Like, they were beaten by Down that year. But Dublin's problem during the noughties was they kept winning Leinster for most of it. So they never got a second chance. When they were beaten, it was in Croke Park, and they never got a second chance. So teams like Tyrone and Kerry were winning All-Irelands through the back door. And if you look at the players Dublin had then, if they had a second chance in a couple of those years, you would have thought they would have, you would have backed them.
There's not a huge amount of footage of the Battle of Omagh. There's the one sort of 1 minute clip from Setanta Sports back in the day where they're wondering what sort of reaction there's going to be, what sort of suspensions are going to come out of this, that it's all over the internet. It's all over the internet, so it's never going to go away. We have the footage up there if you're watching on any of our social channels right now. A little bit of pushing and shoving there, nothing too serious. Is that Kieran Whelan involved somewhere? Alan Brogan is calmly walking off the pitch, having a little bit of a dialogue with one of the Tyrone physios, and then it all kicks off. It was probably most outrageous, I think, because it was so close to the sideline.
Yeah.
So there was Tyrone supporters over the barrier sort of getting involved, thinking about getting involved. Is this melee, schmozzle, scrap territory? Which is it?
That's a bit schmozzle, I would think. See, there's a bit of hold me back, boys, from the subs in the stand. The funny thing, I think 8 suspensions were announced after this.
9 suspensions.
Yeah, but I think only one was served. Yeah, which was very typical of the GA back then, because everybody was looking for loopholes.
What do you mean back then?
It's a bit harder to get off now, in fairness.
Well, I'm just
still can get.
Is it the fact in my head the Battle of Omagh was a proper battle? It was an all-out war. There were murders up there, and there was guys flat out everywhere. And then I look at that and think,
bit of pushing and shoving.
The other thing is, if you look at Tyrone back then, like, Tyrone had a lot of enforcers, particularly in defence. The Ryan McManamans, Conor Gormley, people like that. They had a lot of the McMahons.
But the list is endless.
Yeah, the list is endless. But now you're looking, they're not that kind of team now. Whereas now Dublin you're looking at with enforcers. Like, Dublin have the tough, hard men going up there now who could shove around some of those Tyrone boys. Wouldn't be surprised.
All right, so that's coming up after 8 o'clock. As I say, 53106, the text number. We're live on all our social channels as well if you do want to get in touch. So, Richie, what are we starting with?
We'll start with the 147th Open Championship, the first day of which is just about to draw to a close. It's Kevin Kisner who's made the most of the benign conditions that were present early on at Carnoustie, and he is the man to catch. But a mixed day for the Irish at Carnoustie. Neil Tracy joins us on the line from there this afternoon, or this evening I should say. And as I say, Rory McIlroy, best placed of those Irish golfers heading into round 2, Neil.
Yeah, Richie, and you took the exact first line from me. A mixed day for the Irish here at Carnoustie, because Rory McIlroy is 2 under par and 3 back from the lead after shooting around a 69 today. As we expected, he took the driver out of his bag a lot, and as a result he saw plenty of the course. But the highlight of the day has to be a big curling 20-foot putt for par on 16, which kept him at 2 under, and he brought it into the clubhouse then for his 69. But out in front, as I say, Kevin Kisner, he went around in a 5 under par round of 66 just after noon. He came into the clubhouse, but it still hasn't been matched. He's got 2 South Africans, Xander Lombard and Eric Van Rooyen, and Tony Finau of America on 4 under. But Tiger Woods is one of 16 players within 3 of the lead. He's still 2 under par and has looked well in control of his ball with the irons off the tee. Hit 8 of 11 fairways so far, and he's just made 1 solitary bogey. Padraig Harrington started well. He had a 50-foot birdie on the 3rd, but he lost his way since then and has dropped back to 2 over with 15 holes played. Of the other Irish, Paul Dunne scrambled very well down the stretch with making 3 late pars to save a level par 71, and afterwards he also revealed he's been playing through the pain barrier. He's been postponing wrist surgery, so an excellent round of 71 for him, all things considered. Shane Lowry battling to make the cut on 3 over. He had a 74 and afterwards cut a real despondent figure again, all coming apart on the 10th hole when he had just over 110 yards left, standing over his second shot, overhit the green, and then took 2 attempts to get the ball back in the green, eventually made double bogey, so he was really unhappy after the round. Also, Darren Clark, 4 double bogeys. He had the worst round ever for him at a major championship. He is 11 over par, bottom of the field, Richie.
I'm currently looking at a photograph here of you, Neil, where it looks like you're on the way to a wedding. The sun is shining. I'm not sure where JP has got it from, but
would that be my Twitter one, possibly?
Quite possibly. You're looking
Sunglasses?
well. Sunglasses on,
yeah,
the whole thing.
That was my brother's wedding last year. Yeah.
Okay, good time had by all.
Oh, fantastic day.
Great.
The sun came out, as you can see, as well.
Yeah, and so the sun's been out for quite a while now at Carnoustie. We saw the course today. It's baked. It's very bare. Conditions-wise, the expectation was that the wind would strengthen as the afternoon has gone on. From being out and about, have you noticed that it's been more difficult for the afternoon starters?
The wind hasn't actually really picked up that much, but it certainly has been difficult, because even if you look at the leaderboard, anyone really within touching distance of Kevin Kisner for much of the afternoon had their round finished, or at least had most of their round finished by about 2-3 o'clock. And even you think about it, Kevin Kisner came into the clubhouse just after 12 o'clock. Conditions were still absolutely fine then, but he hasn't been touched. He's still there on 5 under par, leading the way. And same with Eric Van Rooyen. He was one of the early starters as well. So it really did play out today that for some reason or other that the wind didn't necessarily pick up too much, but all the scoring was done in the morning and conditions were quite similar.
All right, good stuff. Thanks a lot for that. Neil Tracy at Carnoustie watching the first round of the Open Championship. A little bit later, around about 8:30, we're going to chat with Eamon Lynch about his thoughts on Rory and Tiger and all of that. As I say, if you've seen it, you'll see there's not much green on the fairways over
parched,
there.
Yeah.
Wayne Riley said earlier that it's had the full Brazilian.
Meaning?
That conditions on there are quite bare. Do you want me to explain it to you anymore, Richie?
Just some people listening.
No, I just threw it out there. And
They can Google.
I don't want to go
Google.
any further.
Fair enough.
Don't Google images, though. Just Google.
Let's get some reaction from McIlroy. The 2014 Claret Jug winner is feeling more confident with his putting.
Yeah, even the putts that I missed, I hit really good putts. The one on 5 for par, I had a really good putt. The one on 6, it was basically a horseshoe. The one on 11 as well was a good putt. I mean, I hit the putts exactly where I wanted, so I can't do anything else. I mean, the one on 11 might have just been a bit of lack of speed. Maybe wasn't quite as much conviction in the stroke, but everything else, I felt like I put good strokes on it and held my fair share, which was good to see.
There is play still ongoing, obviously, at Carnoustie with a lot of late starters. Tiger Woods is one of those still out there with 5 to play. He is 1 under par. Padraig Harrington, as Neil mentioned, still out there on course. He'd made a pretty bright start, had Harrington, but has dropped back now with 2 to play, 2-3 over par. It's a mark that he shares with Shane Lowry, who shot a 74 today. And as Neil mentioned, Lowry cut a pretty downcast figure after his round.
I just made too many mistakes, and I felt like I played okay. But too many mistakes, just not good enough. Getting over the back of 10, just not good enough. 104 yards, make double. It's a tournament like this is just such a kick in the it's kind of, you can't really expect to try and compete. So look, that's the way it is. That's the score I shot. There's nothing I can do about it. Not enjoying my golf at the minute, and my golf's not really enjoying me. That's the way it is, and it's hard to kind of take. And look, I'm giving it my best, but what can I do?
Yeah, you get that sense from Shane Lowry at the moment. He's just pretty peeved.
He sounds like he needs a break. Doesn't he? Sounds like he needs an extent, a few weeks off, just recharge.
Yeah, he had a week off last week, but I think the Irish Open definitely takes a huge amount out of him. He's very giving to everybody. He's very giving to us. He'll come into studio all the time. He's a lot busier than he is on your average week, and then probably puts so much pressure on him on that week that when it doesn't happen, it's probably hard to get rid of the disappointment. And also generally, this is a time of the year where he flourishes, that from May to September is where things generally click. And it hasn't this time, and he's in a difficult position in terms of world rankings. He's not inside the top 50. That means you miss out on the World Golf Championships, which are the easy, you pick up 40 grand for just turning up. So listen, he's in a very difficult position, and he's never probably been one for hiding his frustration, which is why people like him. He's very honest.
And is there some technical problem? Or there's some deficiency in his games, or is it just a general malaise?
Certainly nothing that he's been really talking about. Statistically, because he's having an off season, everything is down on where he was on his best years, but it doesn't feel. He speaks about his short game. You talk to players on the range as to, your ideal full fit of what a golfer should look at. And so many of them would say, I would love Shane Lowry's touch around the greens. And that's not been at that level. And I guess if the very best part of your game isn't where it is, maybe everything else is affected by it. So he's also missed the cut in the last 3 Opens. So we assume he's a very good links player because he won the Irish Open on links. He hasn't backed it up over the last few years. Are you excited about the Open?
To be honest, I haven't had time to think of it because there's so much going on. Like particularly with GA, and then just with the World Cup coming to an end, and like the GA has become very much hot and heavy weekend. So it's like last weekend was such a damn squib, but this weekend is actually, it could be 4 cracking games.
You'd love to be at any
really
of these games this weekend.
Because it's funny because all the talk, there's so much talk about Tyrone Dublin, but as the one game you can argue there's nothing at stake. Because in the other games, like the loser, Roscommon Donegal's gone. If Kildare lose, they're gone. If Kerry lose, they're gone. So the other games are something like, whereas Tyrone or Dublin, if they lose, they're still in it.
Do you think Donegal were thinking about points difference in the last 10 minutes of the game against Dublin?
I've thought that the last couple of days. I don't know, but I think because there was a lot of talk of it beforehand, that it might have been.
So this is Dublin win all 3 of their games, and then the other 3 all beat each other. It may come down to who's taken less of a beating from the
like the thing is, because of the emphatic nature of Tyrone's win over Roscommon, I don't think scoring difference, Donegal will ever match that scoring difference anyway. But I think there is a wariness there when you go into a round-robin series, you're told scoring difference can come into play, and you know how Dublin can hit you in the counter. Dublin could comfortably get 2 goals in in injury time, which we've often seen them get 2 goals in injury time on the counter. So I think that could be the reason. It could be the reason. I don't know.
A lot of texts coming in. Carnoustie and how the personal grooming terms one would use to describe its condition. Unless I'm very much mistaken, I think you'll find it's called a Hollywood, which bodes very well for Rory McIlroy, who's from Hollywood.
Very good.
Richie's not having that either.
What have you got?
The award for premature smart arse of the night goes to Donal in Dunleary.
Not answering that one.
Thought I'd let you know that Rovers are 1-0 up in Sweden. Keep up the great coverage.
What's the next on the list?
What's your next story there, Richie?
Story, Texter.
Because he's a Bulls fan.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. They're just past the hour mark in Stockholm, where it's AIK 0, Shamrock Rovers 1. Daniel Carr strike on the 19th minute tonight, putting Rovers ahead on the night and levelling the tie at 1-1 as things stand, heading for extra time in Stockholm. Meanwhile, there's a 7:45 start at Oriel Park, where Dundalk hold a first leg lead over Levadia, Tallinn and Jamie Moore's pitchside.
Yeah, what a night in store here. European football back in Dundalk. It's Oriel Park, 7:45 kick-off for Dundalk against Levadia Tallinn from Estonia in the Europa League first qualifying round, second leg. It's currently 20 degrees, the sunshine is out. The away team have just arrived, the home team and their manager Stephen Kenny here already. The sprinklers on the pitch. Dundalk hoping to create some more fantastic European memories. Of course, they did make the group stage of this competition just 2 seasons ago. They won 1-0 in the away leg last week. Winger Dylan Connolly got that goal. Would have been hopeful to score a second away goal, because if the Estonians score here tonight, things could get very interesting. The manager, Stephen Kenny, though, will have a huge amount of faith in the League of Ireland's top scorer, Patrick Hooban, in Dylan Connolly, in Michael Duffy, in Robbie Benson, Jamie McGrath, Patrick McElhenney and more, that they'll have enough to shoot their way through to the second qualifying round of this competition. The winners of this tie will face Cypriot side AEK Larnaca in round 2. Here's hoping that Dundalk can create some more fantastic European memories here tonight. Kick-off at Oriel Park is at 7:45.
Yeah, good man, Jamie. Derry City made their Europa League exit earlier despite picking up a win this evening in Belarus. Goals from Alistair Roy and Ronan Hale saw the Candy Stripes win 2-1 away to Dinamo Minsk, but Dinamo progress to the second qualifying round 3-2 on aggregate.
I want to give you a chance to enter our competition. All this week we have teamed up with McKeever Sports to give you the chance to win £2,000 worth of Adidas gear for your sports team. McKeever Sports are the largest Adidas teamwear provider in Ireland and the UK. They have the ability to quickly produce personalised gear with your club's colours, crest and team names. To be with the chance of winning, identify tonight's mystery voice, who's not only a sporting legend, he's also pretty handy at maths too.
I think, I can put 2 and 2 together.
Text your name, your answer and the team you want to win the gear to 53106 for 30 cent. It's all with thanks to McKeever Sports, the largest Adidas teamwear provider in Ireland and the UK. Some good news out of Bray.
Yeah, it would seem so, although there are still some question marks hovering over the Carlisle grounds. Bray Wanderers saying today the money owed to their players will be paid as of today. The threat of strike action has hovered over the Carlisle grounds, with the players going 8 weeks without being paid. Last night, manager Martin Russell stepped down, saying it was impossible to manage the club in the condition it currently finds itself. Bray say the outstanding monies are being paid after what they say is working closely with the FAI.
What does that mean?
The FAI have helped them in this process somehow?
So we had Fran Gavin on the show on Saturday and they'd given the initial Monday deadline, and so there's so many different steps to this, from how they managed to get themselves into position, how they got the licence, having with knowledge of everything that's happened over the past 2-3 seasons at Bray. But this is ticking one box. The players have now been paid what they're owed. Was there any mention of a guarantee that the players are going to be paid next week, and the week after, and for the rest of this season?
No, although you'd imagine if they've thrown in the line working closely with the FAI, FAI would be keen to avoid their name being attached to strike action being served next week, because guarantees haven't been offered for wages going forward. So, although there's no confirmation of that, I would say that that's going to be one of the caveats to the FAI's help in all this. We'll see though.
Yeah, we're all wary of assuming anything at this stage when it comes to Bray Wanderers. So fill us in, for anyone who's missed it, this story about the Liam Miller tribute match.
The GAA have been roundly criticised for not allowing Páirc Uí Chaoimh to be used for a Liam Miller memorial game. And Ireland Celtic 11 will face a Manchester United 11 on September 25th. It's going to be at Turner's Cross now, and it's to raise funds, of course, for Miller's family. Permission was asked to use the recently renovated 45,000 capacity Páirc Uí Chaoimh, but grounds can only be opened up, GAA grounds that is, for other sports following approval at Congress, which of course is back in February. Cork Mayor Mick Finn is among those who've contacted the GAA, hoping to see them change their minds.
Well, this is very messy for a number of reasons. The 30 million of state funds went towards the rebuilding of Páirc Uí Chaoimh. And there's certain conditions attached to that, and part of that is that it'll be available for charitable events, etc., and that the funding would be at risk if it was refused. And I think this could have been couched as a charity function rather than a football game.
Easily.
Because basically it's an over-40s kick around. So
it's soccer aid. It's that type of event that actually you look at the lineup.
It's not a competitive match. So that's a way around it. If you're going, we have these problems with the GA rules. We have to go to Congress, but there's a way. I think if there was a will, there was a way to sort that out. And the other thing it brings up is this problem with Congress, that everything is to go through Congress. Like Central Council should have the right to, like Central Council,
meet every couple of weeks, any issue that comes up.
Central Council has the right, if a request comes to other sports to play in Croke Park, for example, and that should be the case for other grounds, that they can make the decision that you don't have to go to your club and then your county convention and then go to Congress when something like this emerges. Because, like, who's hurting here? It's a family who've lost their father.
The only losers here
the
are
father and the
family.
husband, and that the difference in an extra 38,000 people, like, so it's absolutely crazy in such a popular family in Cork, and somebody who had a GA background as well as a soccer background, that surely they should have found a way around this.
Well, they've a lot of big names coming over. It is almost all the great Manchester United players of the last 15 years. The likes of Rio Ferdinand have committed to playing. So many of the great Irish players of the last 15 years are also going to be there. And you look at the popularity of something like Soccer Aid, where you can draw a crowd. There is, and then there's the connection that the people of Cork, they want to go and support the Miller family. But also, Páirc Uí Chaoimh is a brilliant facility. Anyone who's been down at the new, it's a very modern stadium. There's a whole other angle they can bring to this then. You can have a corporate side. You can bring people who have a lot more money, who aren't just going to pay 25 quid for a ticket.
Of course.
Who'll sit down, and the United players will come in for a meal beforehand, and suddenly you're paying 200 quid a ticket. It suddenly raises their earning potential for this charity match massively.
And this has been a very difficult, the last month has been very difficult for the GA because it's been hammered on a number of issues, and they didn't need this coming up. But is it
done and dusted, or is there any sense that they may change their mind?
I can see this change.
I can see this change because I was just looking at I don't know how you described it, as the statutes or whatever around the Páirc Uí Chaoimh funding, and I think there's a loophole there that they could possibly exploit, basically saying there's a charity function. And like people will say, and the justification, they say Nathan Carter can play in Croke Park, Ed Sheeran can play in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Why can't we have a charity function for a great Irish sports person's family?
And it is a charity function. Nobody is ever going to remember what the final score of this football match is. There'll be 25 subs on each team. It's not a proper competitive fixture. It's absolute madness. And hopefully, for the Miller family's sake, they get this sorted and we can raise as much money as possible. So anything that happens on that over the coming days, we'll keep you up to date. Kieran, thanks as always for coming in this evening. Richie will be back throughout the evening with all the latest on the golf, which is still ongoing.
And still 1-0 to Rovers as well.
And on the Europa League games as well. But John Giles is up next. He's going to be dishing out the compliments and put-downs as he picks out his highs and lows from the World Cup.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
Future-proof. What is time? When is now? What separates the past from the future? These questions may seem reasonably straightforward, but over the course of the last century, our understanding of time has completely turned on its head. Find out if time even exists on Future-Proof this Saturday from 12.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
On News Talk.
It's one of the great London derbies and it's coming to Dublin. Arsenal versus Chelsea, Aviva Stadium, Wednesday, August 1st. See the stars of two of the Premier League's leading teams as they do battle in the International Champions Cup. Tickets on sale now from Ticketmaster.ie. Booking fee applies.